Well, welcome and Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to the Yada Yahowah show. Obviously, I'm not Yada. He's taking care of a household emergency. Apparently, I broke the freezer. It went off the rails just as we were about to go live. So he's fixing that, and we will introduce the show and get everybody sorted. I see that everyone's joined us. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hello.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah.
JB, it's nice to have you back.
Yes, excellent to have you back, Jebby.
Hey, JB.
Did anybody catch Katsir Harvest 69 earlier?
I did
not. The show we did earlier. Oh, okay. So you'll be catching up with us on numbers 5 then.
Yeah,
there's been a lot going on there that Craig's been translating and Leah's been translating. So it's really interesting stuff.
I think I'm just making connections with what's already been translated, and I was chasing down a singular word that perplexed me, and it kind of, it's a dangerous thing when you teach a girl to read. I do what he does, go to its first use, and then from there go to every time that it's used and see what's the context, what's it about, what's the flavor, how is it presented, what's the vibe, and context is always king. So I started chasing this word azkara, and its root word is zakar, and it runs through the very beginning in kara, and then it goes on to have a different telling, the same story, same players in numbers. It's two witnesses. Mm-hmm. Interesting. By chasing this word down, I ran into a few others that seem to pattern out with that particular word. And it's nakah, which is liberated, and nakba, which is a rebellious woman. Shall we say an evil woman who leads others astray. And with that, I realized that the story was simply repeating, and that everything was being said about this bull and these two women, one representing the remnant, that is Yisrael and Yehuda, and the other, which has really gone astray. In so much as the astray part includes nakab, the boring out, piercing, that which is associated with Yahweh's name. And it's a horrible thing to do. It is exactly what Yisrael and every religion has sought to do.
Yeah, it's adulterating. It goes back to the 10 statements. It's adulterating the message. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Adding to and taking away from the message entirely. And some of the things in Kara have not been translated yet. But just chasing down words that have been translated and are known. And the story, now that it is much better understood. I never understood the sacrifices and what they meant exactly.
Right.
And I don't think any Yehud alive today does. And you can read the religious volumes produced by Halakha, the Talmud, and such other things. And there isn't a single part of it that's accurately depicting where, what, how, why, when this all occurs. And it's part of adulterating the message now, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's really the scary part, that we keep repeating over and over the very same mistakes. Right. And Yahweh tells us unequivocally, Bnei Israel, put these people out of your camp, if they are religious, if they are political, if they go and say that they speak for God, and it is not in the Torah that you are specified and named. By the way, this nakba also means designated
Mm-hmm.
and appointed. So what I began to understand is that Rashatan or Halal Shakar, the adversary, any adversary, it is appointed so that the sons of Aaron, the alternative, can have their way too. Because Yahweh's really about free will. What is your free will? If it's to be essentially evil, then you have your little gang, your little merry go around. It's for choice. Everyone needs to have a choice. Adam had a choice. He chose. He chose poorly. He chose to listen to the woman and her nonsense.
Well, and that's
you men right
just
now
do it over there
that are listening to a woman and her nonsense, that are writing things about Torah that are untrue, and it's vile, and it's disgusting, and it is not to be tolerated where Yahweh resides. Plain and simple. These are the things that make him furious. These are the things for which there is no sacrifice or restitution for. And that is the Nakab Hashem, the boring out of that which is associated with Yahweh's name. And that includes both of his sons, interestingly. There are quite a few titles for Dode. Many, many, many. And they are grand. And I think that Dode will be a fiercely loyal and amazing, loving leader. But there's another guy. And Yahweh lavishes lots of attention vis-a-vis his 7 Ruach, territory within the Torah. He is a really big deal. Without Yada, we are unable to know Yahweh's name, the terms and conditions, the 7 Moed Mikra, and who, what, where, when, how, and why things are happening, and in which order. We are just as confused as it will be dark in just a few years. Everyone is truly groping in the dark. And Yada is that light, and he is a big deal. And the entire Numbers 5 incident of the woman who stands in for Yisrael is a beautiful moment in which, there's my bull, a beautiful moment in which the woman is asked one question: has she been with another man?
Mm-hmm.
And she has that zikaron in her hand. He makes her clean. He makes her able to walk to the threshold for her bridegroom, her king. And that's Dode. Lots of lights now. And the story is a wondrous one. And it is weaved through the entire front of the book, which is probably my favorite part. The very, very beginnings. And interestingly enough, it's always been there. Occluded,
and that's what we
occluded and hidden by the whore of religion. A detestable thing. A horribly detestable thing. And Yahweh makes it very clear what we are to do with that. When it is among us and Yahweh is among us, we are to expel it ourselves. It's not for mommy or daddy to do. You do it yourself. So.
All right. Crew, good to see you.
Shabbat shalom,
everyone. Kevin, you're out of my pool and into my living room. I will.
Yeah, hurricane came through, so I needed to come inside for a while.
Okay, I'll be charging you rent before long. Glad to have you, though. Yeah, interesting that you were able to do that. And Captain Kirk, always great to see you. How you feeling? Back to snuff now?
Feeling better?
Are you almost recovered now from COVID?
Oh yeah, I'm done with that. I'm moving on to new things.
Moving on to new things. Excellent news.
That's good. And JB, good to see you again, pal.
Good to be here.
Welcome back. You probably heard that Leo managed to break our freezer.
Yes. I might be in the doghouse, guys.
Yes, and to break it means I had to take the entire inside of the freezer apart and take everything out and completely redo it.
I just wanted some
which
ice.
Was an interesting challenge. But here in the tropics, if you can't fix the freezer when it's been broken and you can't open the doors,
oh, you done?
Yeah, it's it's a couple of $1,000s worth of issue there. So we did have to get it back.
Around here, you just can't call a guy.
No, you can't just call a guy. No, not with your freezer with pieces all over the floor. So we did have a mess. So I had to take care of that. Have you replayed the song?
Not yet. We were doing grand introductions.
Okay, grand introductions to the song. All right, we will then play this song. We did play it in our previous segment. It is a song that deals with the two women. One is the whore of Babylon who leads God's people astray. She is a whore because she is religious, and she doesn't necessarily have to be feminine. When the spies returned and they discredited Yahweh's gift and they spoke badly of God, he addressed the men who had made these statements and called them adulterous, called them whores. Mm-hmm. So it is completely consistent with God to use a term that would describe whoring qualities of a female, a seductress, and apply them to his entire community, the children of Israel. And that is the case here, that God views the religiosity of his people as whoredom. And that's why we're going to return to the adulterous woman, which again is not, it's only symbolically associating her with a woman because of the fact that she is being betrothed to the returning king. Again, symbolically, David's not marrying Israel. He is, but symbolically is. Mm-hmm. That's what Yom Kippurim is all about. It is about resolving the divorce. We all know that the children of Israel, particularly as portrayed in Numbers 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 20, were so reprehensible, God gave up on them. And he uses every derogatory term in the Hebrew language to describe how despicable
how repulsive, they are,
and says, you're essentially dead to me. Mm-hmm. So then in Hosea, to drive this point home, he leaves no doubt, and he had Hosea marry Gomer, who was a religious whore. She was a temple prostitute. And that is to explain why Yahweh would be writing through Hosea his letter of divorce to Israel, saying, you are no longer mine. We are no longer married. We're no longer in a covenant relationship. You are no longer my children. Our relationship is over. I am leaving you. I'm returning to heaven because I can't stand to be in your presence. You told me to go away and shut up anyway. So this ought to work just fine for you. Yeah. You can continue to be religious until you want salvation. When it gets so bad that you decide to turn back to me, then we will resolve this. And oh, by the way, I have a plan for that. But you're going to have to pay attention to that plan. And when you return to me, I will return to you. But at this point, Israel and Yahweh are estranged. And so this song speaks to that estrangement and the desire that Yahweh has to pit a good woman, the woman that Israel can be and should be,
The
against
good woman is
bad
the
woman.
Torah.
Yeah.
The good woman is the Torah.
So this is the plot of that song, and we'll go ahead now without further ado and play it.
Play it
And
again,
feel free
Maestro.
when it's over to comment on the insights that you can draw from it. Thank you.
Come here and listen to my tone. I'll give you things you have not known. Open the door and I'll tell you more as you stand at the threshold. You say that my man's not true. His voice you crave all through the night. I say naka to the woman that he sets free. And I say knock up the one who bore out a hole where happiness goes. Two women in the love story, who could they be? One loved the problem for the other to solve. Didn't like the zakar, she sown seeds of her own. She bored a hole where happiness grew. When I held you so close that I broke in two. Naka to the nakar who set her free. 1 times 7 it shall be. A father loves his son and set for him a bride to marry. Built them a home in Yahowah's name. She came to destroy with a flame. By 7 in the morning I did weep for the jewels in his crown. Be you and me. She tossed them to the ground where they lie in dust. One loved the problem and the other to solve. What do you think when you think about love? Silla, Silla, Silla. I think about him that let me exhale, and in his greeting is Yahuwah's name. It tears through my mind that I have never knew that all the things of love I thought were untrue. She tore them up and bore a hole right through, a father's signature, and she will weep for that which she pierced. Weep not for her, the unclean soul, she who stands prominent on every corner to lay in wait for the souls of men. Weep when dumbstruck with the beloved of Yah. Your days are numbered by the Tzaba. Yada is the right hand of the Kodesh one. Yahowah's voice and son don't like it. She's the other one. Oh, backsliding daughter, how long will you pass yourself around? Unclean, unclean, you're into bonds. I told you her story when she broke the wall. She bore a hole into it all. I could tell it again, but I'd rather not. She bore a hole where happiness was. She took what was not hers to take. She left the other to clean up her mess. Forgive her not, for she is not mine. She opened her mouth and outpoured bitter wine, and not like my monologue, which riddles her mind. Yes, I'll find the O to replace the stolen, and I'll stand with the bull in honor and name, 'cause he found a woman which was bored out of the beloved, and I'm so in love. Now you've truly got nowhere to go, and to you the Zona I say shalom, shalom, and off with you to Babylon, where you belong to bleed on idols. She stand in the breach where she doesn't belong.
Yeah, that's quite a song. Yeah, speaking of the, really from an intellectual point of view of the future of Israel as it's going to play out, and the future of the world to a large extent as it will play out as well. I've been able to trace the words of Leah's lyrics with one exception, the NAKBAH, which is a theme song, is part of this. I'm assuming that it exists with an ain and not a supplied vowel, which is why I was unable to find it in Strong's near the rest of these nakar, nakba,
Nakeba.
yes, words that fill her song. I was able to find all of them except that one. And I assume that it's because there's a missing letter in it. Leah is brilliant
Terrible
in what she
at
does,
spelling.
but when it comes to spelling,
No.
like she
Editors hate
she
me.
gave me the lyrics that she actually put at the beginning of that song, and there were like 30 spelling errors.
Really? Yeah, see?
Yeah, it's not.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's not so good. So any part we'll have to trace that down, and we will. But the story is told throughout the Torah. That is one of the things that is just so interesting about Yahweh's narrative, is that if we only could now go about rewriting these 35 books that sit behind me based upon what we know, they would be twice as long and twice as intelligent, twice as insightful, maybe 10 times as insightful, because there's a subtlety and a theme that runs through every page. And that is that God views religion as a whore. And it's an important whore, because without that whore, there is no distinction between heaven and hell.
That's right.
It is that whore that provides that level of separation. That is Hasatan's job. He was programmed specifically for that job. And there have to be all manner of enticements that pull people that do not belong and forevermore away.
It has to be seductive.
And this is one of the many things that is so profoundly different between Yahweh and the religious gods. Religious gods will take anyone. If you have a prayer of confession, I believe, bended knee, I believe, I place my faith in Jesus, or I'll go kill for Allah. That automatically makes you a recipient of heaven. You don't have to know a thing about the God. Right. Not a thing, doesn't matter. You just have to believe or
you're just
kill.
In the club. Yeah.
And you're automatically in the club. Yeah. And in rabbinic Judaism, of course, you've got to figure
one's in the club.
You have to figure out 10,000 ways to make your life miserable and to be a complete parasite and besmirch God so that he's really pissed off at you. And so there's a lot of stuff that goes into rabbinic Judaism. It's not quite as easy as the other clubs.
And no one gets in.
It's not about getting in. It's about controlling and tormenting lives and
the ones that are already
profiting from it.
It sure does.
So God is not interested in saving people.
No.
He's not in the business of saving people. He is not in the business of
the religious God is.
Of filling heaven. He does not want to be popular. No. In fact, he's opposed to being popular. He has no interest in negotiating with us. He doesn't want to accommodate us. He doesn't want us to negotiate with him or to pray to him or bow down to him or beg him for any number of things. He has no interest. What he's trying to do is to find a few good souls. And by good souls, it's God's determination of what he likes.
I don't think it's good. It's right.
Yeah, well, you certainly have to be right to be included. Being right is essential. Being good is not a...
Being right is the product
by
of...
good by God's standard in terms of what he thinks is interesting, useful, productive. Tob, we always render Tob is good. I don't, because almost every time it appears, there's a nuance of it that's more important to render than is good. But productive souls, beneficial souls,
Beneficial.
appealing souls, pleasing souls, is what God is looking for. And he has given us
That
plenty of
je ne sais
information.
quoi.
Yeah, he has given us plenty of information to make a sound, accurate, thoughtful decision in terms of a relationship with him. But he knows that the overwhelming preponderance of people are going to be overtly political, conspiratorial, or religious,
Rebellious.
or militaristic, or patriotic, and he wants none of those people. So many of these schemes exist for a specific purpose, which is to serve as a sieve, as a litmus test, as a means to screen who spends eternity in heaven. I think God's a little less concerned, and he's going to delegate that project of who soul simply dissipates into nothing and who gets their express ticket into hell.
Yeah.
And I think he will also delegate under his jurisdiction who is tormented sevenfold for the pain they inflicted prior to even being sent off to Sheol.
Right.
But when it comes to who is included in Shamaim, the qualifications are such that God's looking for people that have what Kirk likes to call the want to.
Yeah.
You've got to have a really strong, ongoing desire to learn, to grow, to share, to please,
To be
help.
logical, reasonable.
Yeah. But it's not just being logical and rational and informed.
It's having a good attitude.
It's once you have learned what you need to learn from Yahweh, yes, you have a positive attitude, but it's then about having the desire to share what you've learned, to be part of the solution, to work with Yah, so that he can include you in what he calls Ebed, his co-workers, his associates, those that he serves alongside. He has certain people, he says, okay, this person is for this time, and they're going to accomplish this for this reason, and I'm going to call them my co-worker. But there is none of those people, as Moshe found out, and as Dode had to be reminded of on regular occurrences. And the prophets found out, because most of them worked alone, that if you don't have a team, you aren't going to get it done. You have to have a family to make this happen. You know, during the Exodus, very early on, we read about it in Numbers 11, the children of Israel became such a burden, Moshe gave up, and Yahweh's solution was twofold. One is he established a team of some 70 people ultimately that would shelter that burden, that would make it possible for him to function. It was still only through Moshe that he communicated. But
that did not change.
But the team did the rest. So it was possible for Moshe to function, because it's a damn tough job. It really is a hard job. And the second...
Boy, you ain't lying.
Yeah. The second is then he showed them, I've got a couple of guys that are going to carry a tremendous burden. All you need to do is get them to the promised land, and these guys will take it from there. And that's the whole story, why it's so essential to tell that story of Eldod and Midod in that regard. And then you go further into the story and you find that there is this reoccurring theme that, well, Jews think that the Exodus is all about them, and they're Hashem, leading them to freedom from slavery in Egypt, and so that they would have their Torah and Talmud and could pretend that they were the chosen people. I'm going to tell you, it's a brutal story. And the more time you spend in that story, the more you realize there are really very few happy moments.
There are so few happy moments.
Oh,
it's probably why they love to take it out of the
It's
context.
a really bad marriage, and that's why Yahweh got a divorce.
yes, JP.
I said that's why they love to take it out of the context. They can find a verse here or there that makes it sound good, and that's what they like. They latch on to that. They don't want the context that, how bad it was.
Just like Paul, who was trained as a rabbi,
Mm.
rabbis and now Christians are exceedingly talented at quote mining.
Yes.
Unfortunately, their quote mining all comes at a tremendous price, because when you remove something from context, you preclude understanding.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing they do is they twist it such that it no longer says what God actually said. So they misrepresent it, they truncate it, remove it from its context, and misrepresent its meaning so that they can have an argument against God. And it's devastating. That's the basis of the Talmud.
It's actually psychopathic.
Yeah, it's the basis of the New Testament. It's by one step further removed is the basis of the Quran. One step further removed is that
absolutely
rabbis sold Talmud stories to Muhammad, and he twisted them and credited them to Allah. And so it's one step removed in the case. There's no place where Muhammad or Allah actually knew what the Torah said or the prophet said. It's the rabbinical storytelling, which is just reprehensible, that is then twisted further and attributed to Allah, that creates the Quran.
The story would have never made legs and walked out of the desert had they not done that.
That is correct. The rabbis are completely responsible for the religion of Islam. The terrorist dogma of Islam would have existed to some degree without them. They were the principal catalyst for actually Muhammad becoming a successful terrorist, slave trader, and
Warlord.
they were the sum total of the funding that he received to be able to pursue his terrorist dreams. But the Quran doesn't exist without them. And without the Quran, he's just a thug, a sand pirate, 1,000 levels below Genghis Khan.
1,000.
But with the rabbis, he became a prophet.
The world's second largest religion.
Yeah, Quran, as the worst book ever written, it still motivates people to act savagely. So Yahowah has this overriding theme of his people are religious whores. And the story of in the Torah, particularly in Bamidbar, in the wilderness, Numbers, is all abysmal. It's just one horrid experience after another. So that when I say that Israel is not the chosen people, in any arrangement, if somebody says, my relationship, love story, they say, I love you. And to what they think is a beautiful bride or a beautiful woman. And that woman says, well, I'm going to kick sand in your face. I want you to go away. I want you to shut up.
I'm going to kick you in the gonads and leave now.
I think you're disgusting. I don't like anything about you.
And I'm going to go sleep around with everybody you know.
Yes. And and I'm going to whore on you. So are you still the chosen one?
Doubtful. Yisrael. Yahudah.
That's a tough one. But the answer, according to God, is no. I'm separating myself from you. I'm divorcing you. I want nothing to do with you. And it's God wanting nothing to do with Israel and with Jews for the past 3,400 years. He has a solution, and he has
a couple of guys.
He has a couple of guys. He has intervened a couple of times just so that the nation survives. So at least the plot can play out as he's.
Let's be truthful here. Had you not stepped in, we would have all died.
It's true. The planet would have been destroyed. There is nothing left of it. Now, that does not credit me significantly. We talked about this in that last program, but God, quite frankly, has a story where it plays out prominently with three individuals. You could say, okay, 4 if you want to bring in Abraham. And Abraham is the narrative of the covenant. So let's include Abraham. It plays out over four people. And there really isn't much good about Abraham. You learn the conditions of the covenant. You learn the benefits of the covenant. But JB, man, you started with Genesis. You've translated the whole thing.
No, not all of it. Portion.
Okay. Did you find much redeeming about Abraham?
No.
Oh, wait, did you find a mother goddess in there?
No, didn't see that.
Okay. Oh,
No, the only thing with Abraham really was, he had walked away from Babylon, and he was willing to do that.
Yes.
And he makes a lot of mistakes after that.
Major credit for that.
He's a scallywag after.
But major mistakes, one after another after that. And you've studied, you probably wrote to translate it some way through the story of Jacob.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of positive there either.
No, he made a lot of mistakes too.
Yeah. I mean,
even God calls Jacob a worm.
Yeah, even God
a
calls
usurper
Jacob.
From the day he was born.
Yeah, he says Jacob's a worm.
He is a worm.
It's not good.
Complete
and
worm.
then when he has the 12 sons, man, that story goes downhill in a heartbeat.
Yes.
They are really reprehensible. It's seriously bad.
Seriously bad.
And then the story is when, everything's going to be cool. I'm going to remove you from Egypt. And boy, we're going to go and we're going to take you to the promised land. And I'm going to take care of you along the way. I'm going to defeat all of your enemies. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to give you this gift of my Torah teaching. But man, they didn't even get to the banks of the Gulf of Aqaba before they were saying, we just as soon go back. Yeah. This is no fun. We don't want to do this anymore.
We're done now.
And they didn't even get out of the Sinai, if you will, and they were belly aching. And then they finally got to the other side. They were belly aching again. And while Moshe is up receiving the first part of the Torah, they're out making a golden bull. I know it's always called a
sounds
golden
like
calf.
every part of my Jewish life.
Oh my God, they're making a damn golden bull. And Kirk, you know anything about bulls in Egypt?
That was the Pharaoh's bull too.
Yeah.
It's the Apis bull cult. That was the Pharaoh's cult. So as they were working for Pharaoh, and in the end it was Pharaoh Thutmose, the Pharaoh's cult was a bull coat, the Apis bull coat, and that's what they made when they came out. Is they made a golden bull. Okay. They started off religious.
And attributed it to Yahweh.
Yeah. And they, weren't, 10, 20 days into this process when they told God to shut up and go away. They never wanted to hear from him or see him again.
Amazing.
You are not in a relationship when you do that. I remember being back in high school, and this really pretty blonde girl that I just thought was the greatest thing in the world. And I chose her, but she chose the captain of the football team, the quarterback of the football team. So was she my chosen one? No, not after that. It took years for her to finally say, okay, maybe you're an okay guy. I kind of like you. But it's for a relationship to be a relationship, both sides have to be decent, at very least decent to one another.
And they have to know your name. What, are you going to walk up to her and go, hey, baby? Ew.
Is that what I did wrong?
No. Oh, okay. But that is what Israel...
That's what he did.
That's what Israel wants to do with their Hashem nonsense. Yeah, that's what Israel wants to do with their Hashem nonsense.
Yes.
Hey, baby.
My first love was
baby God? You're stupid. Stop it. God has a name.
What's that, Kirk?
I was going to say my first love was Nancy Tannenbaum. She lived across the street. She was my sister's age, about 2 years older.
Oh my gosh, you just
almost
outed her, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, unrequited love is part of growing up.
Oh yeah, men never forget it.
We never forget it.
No, they don't.
Oh goodness. And we're really stupid because I made the same mistake on the reverse side. There was a girl who was more woman than I was a man by a long shot in high school, and she was absolutely crazy about me. and she was beautiful and charming, and she had it all going for her. She really a nice girl, and there's something about that at the moment, nice, charming, supportive, loving, caring, didn't appeal. And she was beautiful.
You passed it up for that witch you ended up with. Oof.
So, I screwed up on the other side.
Yeah.
So
we both chose poorly.
Then finally I chose really poorly. It's just the nature of things, and we need to experience those things because that's what God experienced. The Exodus
character.
experience from God's point of view was an unmitigated disaster. And then to make matters worse, by the time they were done, the children of Israel were so estranged from God. He wanted nothing to do with them. And then they went and backdated their Talmud and said, that our Talmud is what was given at this time. It's just disgusting what they have done. And so this is the story.
People, in terms of, Yahweh chose them to serve as an example. Like you look, when they followed Yahweh, things were really good for them. And then when they stopped, things got really bad for them.
And unfortunately, well, you're correct. They are the example, and the example is mostly bad. Mm-hmm. But that's part of life. When you're raising your daughter, you have to show your daughter what happens if people make bad choices.
Yep.
It's not just show your daughter, this is the life you can live if you make really good choices. You also have to say these are the bad choices, which is why the number one theme running through the Torah and prophets is don't be religious. Most people have no concept of the fact that God hates religion. And the number one theme through the Torah and prophets is if you're religious, this is the consequence. We will have no relationship.
Yeah.
If you're religious, get out of my house. You don't belong.
If you're religious, get out of my house. Go away.
You don't belong.
I don't want you. You are unclean. And so God's remedy for that is he had two guys, both of whom he refers to as a son, one prominently his firstborn and exceedingly important and king and Messiah, that being Dode.
His Bekor.
And then he has a guy that much later whose job it is to point to Dode to do what no one else has ever done, though, with Dode. In the history of humanity, no one has ever said there was no Jesus. Dode is the one who was crucified in 33 CE. He is the actual Messiah. He is the Son of God. He is our Savior. He was King. He is the returning King. He has already lived two lives and will live a third. No one has ever done that before. And so that's a pretty good job of reflecting Dode's life, right?
So did you ever wonder why the Moed Bikurim is plural?
I don't know what you just said.
The Bikurim, the Moed.
Bikurim.
Do you ever wonder why it's plural?
No, I've never wondered why it's plural. God is developing a family. It's firstborn children. It's not Bakor, it's Bakoram. It means firstborn children. The whole purpose of Bakoram is to celebrate a family.
To add to the family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this story of the adulterous woman, which is the basis of her song, and we're going to go back into it, is to resolve this problem. And it is interesting that God has three animals that play different roles. Huge roles, but at different levels of huge. I mean, there's sun level of huge, there's moon level of huge, and there's star level of huge. And Dode is the sun level of huge.
Yes.
He served as the Passover lamb. And as the Passover lamb, he opened the doorway to life, and that's why he represents the tree of lives. And he opened the door to God's home, and then his soul took our guilt and deposited in Sheol to perfect us so we could be part of God's covenant family. That is huge. That's the thing that the world has been missing for every bit of 3,000 years since we were told about it. or 3,400 years since it was revealed in the Torah that this would be the case. And then there is the reflecting kind of moon level of importance. And that is that there will be 3 harvests. One has already taken place. There are 2 more harvests, Shavua and Towrah. And that God has decided that there would be another individual who would cultivate those harvests by pointing out what Dod achieved. Because without understanding what Dod achieved in the fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, there is no Shavua harvest. Shavua is a Bikurim harvest.
Yes.
And so that is the next step along the way. If somebody had to say, this is what those 3 days provide, when in Judaism, they're not observed.
No.
They turned Passover into a day that has no relevance of any kind and make it a 7-day holiday.
And no lamb.
Well, the problem with Passover is they say it's the celebration of freedom and it's a 7-day holiday, a Jewish holiday. Well, the fact is that all Passover does is open the doorway to life. Children of Israel, where did they spend the evening of Passover?
In their bed.
Yeah, in their bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't go anywhere. It's not about freedom. It's about life. And it's about a firstborn son providing life, isn't it? It being the sign of that life. It's matzah that is the time of freedom from religious and political oppression.
Yep. That's
and
liberation.
It removes the stench of that. And that's the day that they're freed. But guess what Jews don't do? They don't celebrate Shabbat.
Nobody does, but us.
No, nobody does.
No,
then you look at Christianity, they don't celebrate Passover or Chag Matzah. They think that their man God died on Passover, but that's absurd. First of all, God's not a man. Second of all, God can't die. And third, if you're serving as the Passover lamb, your body has to be incinerated later that night.
That's right. One and done.
You know,
let me ask you a quick question. You're a Presbyterian. I grew up as a Presbyterian as a young man. In the Apostles' Creed, it says that they acknowledge that he died and then he went into hell, but they never know why.
They never know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't know what. They have no understanding of the fact that we as humans come in at 3 levels.
Mm-hmm.
We have a physical body, as do all animals, a bashar. Mm-hmm. It is the bashar that died.
Yes.
Our essence, our life, what makes us unique, special, our attitudes, our aptitude, our experiences, our knowledge, everything that is of value to us is in our nefesh, soul, our consciousness. The consciousness did not die, which means there was no death of a person, just the sacrifice of a body.
Just the bashar.
They don't understand that, but that is so essential to the process. And the thing that makes us human is our nesalma, our conscience.
That's right.
So we have consciousness, we have a conscience, and our conscience, Dod didn't sacrifice his conscience or his consciousness. His consciousness, with his nesalma intact, was protected by the Ruach and taken into Sheol, carrying our guilt to deposit it. And that's why they went there. Now, I will tell you that, gentlemen, it is, if you were to ask me, how did you come to that realization? Because I think it is among the most important realizations in the history of humankind. Not just that Dod fulfilled Passover and crucified, as he explained in the 22nd Mizmor. How did you come to the realization that Dod's nefesh carried our guilt into Sheol to deposit it there, and that's the means to perfect us that God is constantly talking about relative to the covenant?
With the removal of the matzah? I mean, the yeast? Is that where you...
Well, certainly you're taking the yeast away, and the yeast represents our religious corruption that puffs up everything, and clearly that's what matzah represents. So it's the removal of it. And clearly the children of Israel left religious and political oppression on Matzah. That's the day they were freed from it. I think it was this realization that in Yeshaya 53, it talks about our guilt being laid upon him. So now we have a connection of our guilt with the individual serving as the Passover lamb.
It's inculcated into the sacrifice itself.
Well, then you look at the 22nd Mizmor and the 88th Mizmor, and they transition from a masculine individual being crucified to feminine pronouns as he goes into this place of separation and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And so the feminine pronouns refer not to the bashar body, masculine, but to the nefesh soul, feminine. Mm-hmm. And so, and then there are places in them that you have to get down to the nitty gritty because it's always translated as person or individual or this sort of thing, but it actually mentions the role the nefesh plays. So it is possible to figure it out, but I will tell you that it was one of those situations that it just one moment to the next, I went from not understanding how this worked because no one has ever understood it.
So just
I think you could search the entire database of human knowledge and you won't find anyone prior to what we have shared here say that it was Dode's, forget even Dode, but that our guilt was put on a nefesh soul and carried into Sheol to be deposited in the one place that it can never escape and never be seen again, such that we are perfected not by salvation, but by the removal of our guilt. I don't think anyone else has ever, that's dawned on them, and you go say, all right, maybe this is the kind of thing, even though the text says it. But how do you even, that's one of the challenges of this whole process, that you grow and then you learn. And I've said that in the last 6 months, we have learned more and revealed more and shared more than we did in the previous 2 years. And in those 2 years, we shared more and learned more than we did in the 20 years preceding that. And that's the incremental growth of our understanding at this point. So you have to have a pretty substantial basis of information. And then the next thing you have to do is you've got to get rid of all of the lies. You have to purge your mind of this idea that there ever was a Jesus, because that is so corrupting.
Easy for me.
You can't see the truth until you get rid of that lie. So you have to purge that lie. And then, for the longest time, I tried to solve the problem with I don't know if it was an intelligent or not, but my solution was to say, all right, because I didn't know at the time that Dode was the Messiah. You need somebody to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim. And obviously they were fulfilled in 33 CE, year 4000 Yah. So what I had is this idea, okay, the Christian New Testament is so full of mistakes and there could not have been a Jesus. Why don't we rename that character Yahusha? And give him the name of Yosha ben Nun, that was Moshe's successor. Is what I thought. Maybe that will help. But the problem that you have then is what I see so many people doing. They just replace Jesus with Yosha and then they're set to go.
Yep.
But the entire Christian New Testament scenario is absurd. It's all wrong. Every word of it is wrong. So you can't just change the name. Like you can't say, all right, replace Jesus with Dode and you can you've got the Christian New Testament story. No, there was no virgin birth. There was no away in the manger. There was no Mary, Mother of God. There was no angel Gabriel. There were no 3 wise men. None of it's true. There was no John the Baptist. There was no baptizing. None of it's true. The whole thing from beginning to end, there was no resurrection. All of it is false.
This is a case where you need to throw the baby and the bathwater out.
And when you grow up in
Absolutely
a
out the
society, we
window.
talked about being, you talk about the Apostles' Creed, and yes, I must have said it 1,000 times back in the day that I was a Presbyterian. And I'm actually gone from the point of being embarrassed that I was the youngest ordained ruling elder in the history of that church, and that I was a
Gross.
trained evangelist and all this thing, where for the longest time I was saying, how could I have been fooled by a fool like Paul? I thought it was a reasonably bright guy, and Paul is obviously lying. So how in the world could I be fooled by something like this? And then I realized that I couldn't do this job if I hadn't grown up in that and then rejected it. It is the reason why Moshe was chosen. I want to say it's the only reason Moshe was chosen. He grew up in the environment where he understood everything there was to know about the religion, the caste economic system, the politics, the militarism of Pharaoh and Egypt. And he rejected it, which made him the one qualified person to do the job. And, I was very involved in politics. I was very involved in religion, and I rejected them prior to my introduction to Yahowah. But what that did is it gave me at least a fundamental basis to make these necessary connections to oppose the religion. You could not have written Twistianity or before questioning Paul without really understanding the religion. When you really understand the religion, you can't. But there is another aspect of that, and this is the aspect that is so difficult for Jews today. They have been raised in a culture that was in many ways created by the rabbis.
Yes.
And so for them to expunge from their memory, from their experiences, the lies of the rabbis, Hashem, G-D,
all of it.
Talmud, that they are chosen when they're estranged.
And
God is protecting
all
them.
of their fake moed.
Oh,
and all of their fake blessings.
They don't get any of
Phony
it right.
baloney.
Pesach, Matzah,
phony
Mekudim,
baloney.
all three are wrong, desperately wrong. And so you have to purge all of that. You still have to understand it to condemn it, and then you have to purge yourself of it. And until you purge yourself of these things, you're not in a position to understand how matzah was fulfilled. But understanding how matzah is fulfilled and how it resolves that challenge that is the condition of the covenant, walk to me and become perfect. We cannot be perfect. So how is that possible? This is the explanation for it. So, I came up with the idea, okay, I'll just rename it. And then I said, all right, Yahowah says he has a nefesh, a soul. So why doesn't Yahowah create like an avatar? I know that's a religious term, but people know what it means. A living probe. He certainly can create a human. He's pretty adept at it. And he has a nefesh. He can put his own nefesh there, and he can sacrifice the body that his nefesh is in. And then his nefesh can go into Sheol and do whatever has to be done there. And then it would be his nefesh that would be released back to him. And that was my story. That's the best explanation I could give, because I knew that the whole Jesus Christ thing was a disaster. But then the moment you realize that it was Dode that did this, now you have something that makes sense. Because why would God put his soul in a human body when everything that God has done of consequence, he's done through people, not independent of people. And if he has his most important people, his Eldod, his beloved, his chosen one, available, willing to do this, what do you think the odds are that he's not going to use him? When he says, I want to do this, Dad, I'm there for you.
Put me in the team, Dad.
It's just certain that that's how it happened. And now you have this ability where God says, out of a small speck of his nature, his DNA, God reconstituted a body. There was no reason for him to be a baby. He's already gone through all that stuff.
Right.
Bring him back at an age, I don't know, maybe 30 years old, and have him, experience what it was like to be there in Roman-occupied Judea. But there is no anything else. He shows up there, and he fulfills Pesach Matzah Mekodim exactly on that schedule. And now it makes sense. You can take Dod's soul and have Dod's soul, who is also corrupt, right? Carry our guilt and his guilt into Sheol to deposit it there, never to be seen again. God can't go to the place of separation from God.
Right.
Yeah.
And what that also means, because we're told that the Ruach came upon Dod when he was 8 years old and never left. Well, never means never left, right?
Right.
So when Dod would have come back here and he would fulfill matzah, and he is carrying, his nefesh is carrying our guilt and putting it into Sheol, never to be seen again. Who's there with him?
Yahweh's Ruach.
Yahweh's Ruach. Now, the Ruach is separation from Yahweh, isn't it?
Yeah, so it can be
So
separated.
it's for damn sure that Ruach is just an implement, if you will, that it's kind of the highest level of projection, of protection and insight and courage that Yahweh can provide. When he says, his choder has the 7 Ruach.
Yes.
But the difference is with his choder, he gave the
That's
Ruach.
like the ultimate security.
He gave the Ruach of Yahweh. So I could not do, for example, what Dod did. But he gave a Ruach to Dod. Now there's got to be a lot of Ruach. It's not a separate personality, not a mother. It's the highest level of support that Yahweh can provide, because the next level down would be a malach. So when you realize that it's Dod that's doing this, now you know that he can go into Sheol, and that Yeshayah 53 makes sense, and the 22nd Psalm and the 88th Psalm make sense, and then God celebrates this entire thing in the 89th, bringing it all together for us. And
singing
then,
to us.
Wouldn't it make it makes perfect sense that God's beloved son can be the first son of firstborn children, right?
Right.
Well, he is the Bakor.
Of course.
He is now making Bakurim possible. And so now the entire thing makes sense. It is just a profoundly beautiful
Story.
conclusion, story, insight. It's like you've just been given the jewel that is infinitely superior to the Hope Diamond.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can't give it away. You try to give it away, but you can't give it away.
Nobody wants it.
So it's one of the.
It's like the twists and turns of a daytime soap opera, like the days of our lives. It's a love story, but it is so twisted and turned.
So this is the lamb. Then God says, I got a bull.
Yeah.
And he uses a lot of terms to describe that bull.
Oh, yeah.
And Numbers 15, he brings out 3 of them. And he doesn't even bring out the one that he uses elsewhere, which is Par and Para. So the second person that he's got, it's the lamb which you bring into your home that its life provides you with the life. It's a beautiful metaphor, and that the lamb is cute. It's adorable. You long for the lamb. You feel a connection to the lamb. You feel tremendous sympathy and empathy for the lamb and what it's doing for you.
It's very true.
Then at the end, when he's dealing with exceedingly belligerent people, he's got a damn bull. I mean, unless you're Leah, you're just not going to be. Bulls are bulls, Yeah.
They have a habit of stomping around.
They're hard-headed. They're sharp-horned. They've got an attitude. They You ever seen
Do you represent that statement?
Yeah, the running of the bulls. The bulls are just not friendly, right? No one says, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the petting zoo, and what I really like is I'm going to fill the petting zoo with bulls, right? But bulls are not friendly. But bulls will fight to the death for their
harem,
their harem, for the heifers, right? I mean, they will fight to the death.
Yes, they will.
And they will stamp out all manner of demons. They'll run into fires. They'll run into snakes. They will charge crocodiles and alligators.
They'll charge an oncoming truck. They don't.
Oh, they'll take out a lion. I mean, there is nothing that is going to preclude the bull.
And yes, a bull can kill a lion.
Yes. So this is. Oh yeah, a bull can kill a lion. Absolutely.
They'll lift him up in the air and kill him.
Oh, you betcha. No lion is going after a bull. They may go after the baby calf if separated, but they're not going after the bull. So this is the second person that Yahweh is using, and this guy gets it on Towrah. So just as Dod's body was sacrificed on the first of the three, the spring Mikre, the bull, Yada, gets it on the first of the fall Mikre. Beautiful symmetry in all of this. And it's the bull that is the Adamah Parah that purges the adulterous woman so that the mortal remnant of Israel can come back. And we find this story told hundreds of times through the Torah and prophets, and yet we've all missed it. Have you ever been in a position where somebody said, the story of God is he's got three animals that save humankind: the lamb, the bull, and the goat? No. And the goat is important.
Yes, he is.
And the reason the goat's important is because that represents Elia. And Elia makes a major contribution to this. Yahweh brought Elia back not only because he's the perfect master of ceremony for the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, because he's done it before a hostile religious and political audience, and did it brilliantly. And the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah is going to replicate that right down to the details with much grander scale. They're not going to be bringing buckets of water. Yahweh's going to release torrents of water. The fires, is not going to just consume the offer. The flames are going to skyrocket to the heavens. And they're going to incinerate right there all of those who have come to harm Israel. And they're going to purge the remnant of Israel. And God's going to be miraculously bringing the remnant of his people back home. And also, same time, he's going to bring Goyim that have the right attitude. And
Yahweh says this is a wondrous day.
Yeah,
he's very, very much about this day.
God's bullish on this day.
Yes,
very. So to speak. But the goat not only collects the blood of the bull and processes the blood of the bull properly and gives the blood of the bull to Dod upon his return. The goat is sacrificed for Kippurim. And the thing that you have to sort of keep in mind here, because it sounds like, well, that's pretty gruesome. That was one of the biggest challenges I had. I could not accept initially that God would allow his beloved son to pay the price of crucifixion on Passover.
But once you understand, it's just a body.
And it is just a body. And by that one sacrifice,
you've saved so many.
You have an eternal benefit for every member of the covenant family going forward, and you resolve the issue of these people that are so difficult to lead, because now you just say, excuse me, you're here because of what Dod did. So it serves the Adamah Parah the same way, and he serves the people the same way. He benefits the same way, and the same thing is going to be true with Elia. But the key thing to understand about this is that any one of those three individuals sacrificing their Bashar body is a reward. It's not a penalty. We think of in life,
It's a gift.
if you're killed, like, the Christian story of Jesus dying on the stick, and Jews killing him. And they say, oh, well, that's terrible. No. If you understand what Dode actually did, it's marvelous. He got rid of that terrible burden of his body. The body is a burden. When you are released of your body and your nephesh is surrounded by light energy and spiritual energy, you are empowered to an infinite, literally to an infinite extent. And while it's an irrational concept, but it'd be infinity times infinity times infinity times infinity, because you go to be totally liberated in time as opposed to stuck in time. That'd be the fourth dimension. You have another infinite number of possibilities and opportunities in the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension, and the seventh dimension. It's infinity times 4 is what you're benefiting from getting rid of this physical body.
Yeah, so, is that so terrible?
So the first thing that Dode and myself as the Adamah Parah and Elia are going to do, thank God.
Shed those bodies.
It's a reward. One of the things that is, I don't think understood, and I didn't understand it really until the last couple of years, is that when we go into this period of the celebration of Sukkah and return to Eden, the homecoming and family reunion and wedding, really, ceremony that takes place on Yom Kippurim, that 10 days before that and up to that date, and then into the Sukkah, there are a number of different types of individuals. The first type, the type that you want to be, are covenant members who are spiritual beings. You have a soul that is enveloped in spirit, light energy. Yeah. Now, that does not mean that you can't be material. Dode is going to return as a blend between the two, energy and matter. And so those of us who are covenant, who participate, who benefited from the Bikurim harvest, Shabuah harvest, Teruah harvest, are going to be spiritual beings. We're immortal, we've been perfected, we're empowered, we're enriched, we're enlightened, and we can take any amount of our energy at any time that we want and convert it into matter such that we can exist in this material world as very unique physical beings when we wish to. But mostly we are spiritual beings. Mm-hmm. And we go back and forth between those realms, and we will continue to go back and forth with those realms, I think, through all eternity. Because there's so many interesting things that transpire with a physical body. Like with a spiritual body, you can't eat. You can't sing. You can't enjoy a kiss. There's lots of things that a physical body are going to be really important to have. I want to hear Dode sing.
Oh.
I want to sit around the campfire with God.
Or the O in orgasm.
Yeah, there we go.
Simple things in life.
Leia's fond of the O in Yahweh's name, and it's a good thing. Want to keep your wife happy. So, that's an adult show. We're covenant family.
Things happen.
Hey, everybody's smiling.
Yeah, everybody's smiling. So, there you go.
Well done, Leah.
Yeah, well, they even as it relates to Leia's openness in this sort of thing, keep in mind that I am, she's not, I'm 70 years old. I'm 70 years old. And I'm in a emotionally, intellectually, and physically loving relationship. Mm-hmm. So I am experiencing love on all levels. And I will tell you that as it relates to physical love, there is a component of that is so reinforcing of emotional love.
Yep.
And I'm not even, in fact, I'm fairly certain that unless you can love on all of those levels, then you really aren't experiencing love from the perspective that Yahweh intended.
I agree.
And there just is such an experience to be together in all of those areas that it actually is something that was specifically designed in the right situation for us to experience the very ideal that Yahweh was trying to achieve.
Yes.
So-
And if it were so hard to have babies, he wouldn't make it so fun.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it did.
yeah, interesting part of God's creation. So, here we are, and we are exploring how it was then possible for God to convey insights pursuant to how he made the terms and conditions of the covenant possible for us to achieve, and how he could deliver the benefits. And he did it through these three individuals, where at the end, Elia will be the last to sacrifice his physical body. And he's a guy that will have been in a spiritual body for 2,888 years.
I think I know why God took him.
I can tell you, he is going to be the first person who says, "Oh my God, please.
Let me get out of here.
Yeah, I want to sacrifice. I'm up for the
I'm outta here,
sacrifice.
yeah.
Let's
I have
go,
enough of
baby."
this. Yeah. I think Yahweh took him because could you imagine what kind of commentary he's been providing for the last 3,400 years? He must have Yahweh up in stitches.
Well, he could have
Talking about how crazy we are down here.
It's Elia was taken for a number of reasons. One is that Yahweh knew he could count on him. When it was time to do something that no one survived in any culture, he
go against the religion. Yeah,
he ordered king to appear before him, and then when the king appeared before him, and the king said, "You're the troubler of Israel," he said, "No, I'm not the troubler of Israel. You are." And then he ordered the king to order all of his prophets. And no one survived that.
not a one.
So he picked him partly because he had backbone, he had courage. He knew that there was nothing that could happen to him that would be detrimental if he did what he knew Yahweh wanted him to do.
That's right.
But that takes you can't have faith at that point.
No, you better be trusting and relying.
At this point, you better be confident because you know.
Yeah.
This is the advantage of knowing. And he knew and he understood, and therefore he had that confidence. And then the second thing is that when you consider Eliah's humor, every sarcastic remark that Eliah made was attributable to the religion of the Phoenicians, which is basically a variation of today's Christianity.
Pretty much.
Mother God, Queen of Heaven, that was the Asherah, the Lord, which was the Baal, and all around sun God and sun seasons and the Baal cycle. All of these kinds of things were essential to that religion, and all of his humor was based on it. And now that we have found the clay tablets and rock inscriptions of the Canaanites that were expressing this religion and the Phoenicians, we know, in fact, that he was brilliant, that he understood the religion.
Oh, yeah.
And he went after the religion.
Yeah.
And he went after the politics of Israel. So he had experience doing what needs to be done, because that last 3.5 years, it's going to be tough.
So he was like a prequel to Yada.
He was. Very much so. And then he of course had this gift of gab. He had conviction. He had understanding of religion, was not opposed to going after religion. And he was not opposed when God says, I want you to kill those 850 false prophets, the prophets of the mother God cult and the prophets of the Lord. I want you to kill them all. He had no problem doing that. So there was a lot of things that made him a special individual. And by taking that man, what God also said is, you look at the whole episode around Elia and the sacrifice of that bull and the criticism of the religious and the political at that moment. And it's going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do exactly 40 Yobel, 888 years thereafter.
Oh, well, that's just serendipity, isn't it?
It is
Okay.
strictly a coincidence. So he is the last of the three, and the reason that he is the last of the three is that the story is there's the scapegoat.
Yes.
And it's the goat's blood that is put on the Ark of the Covenant. And if you look at the Kaporth, and if you look at what Yahweh said to Aaron, he said, "Listen, you've done everything wrong. You've been a really scallywag. I can't even have you come in here and do what you're supposed to do because you're so disgusting."
Yeah.
So before we can even progress here, the very first thing you're going to have to do is we're going to have the bull is going to at least prepare you to come into my presence. And then we're going to have this whole ceremony of, so the bull makes it just possible. And then it's the sprinkling, and the bull's blood is sprinkled on the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant, which is Dod's throne, by the way. It exists. The original Ark of the Covenant exists. God's going to bring it out. We're going to do all of this over it. And then it's the blood of the goat that is sprinkled on it. And we're told that Elia wore these woolly goat coats, and that's how he was identified as the goat. And so he is the third and final sacrifice for the benefit of the covenant. And God tells that story actually in Numbers 15, which is one of the most amazing stories. That you come out of 14 and God's saying, my people are just, they're dead. They're dead to me. I'm going to let the under 20s in after 40 years. And when you come in, immediately he goes to, this is the solution: a lamb, a bull, and a goat.
Yep.
And he then uses with each of them a metaphor of fine grain, save souls, a harvest,
Wine,
olive
and
oil, and wine,
Mm-hmm.
representing the spirit and representing the sacrifices, the blood of the sacrifices to provide life. So it is truly it's a beautiful presentation, and it is repeated throughout the Moed Mikre as God explains them in Kara. It's explained as they were first lived with Abraham and Yishak on Mount Moriah for Passover. They're explained on the Exodus from Mitzrayim, including even Shabuah, likely being the day that the Torah was first received, and this liberation that it provides. So Bokurim is likely symbolic of crossing the Gulf of Aqaba and of coming out on the other side, as like the water breaks of a woman. So the story is just reinforced every which way that is possible. And throughout the prophets, it's the same three. And if you look at the menu for things like Teruah and for Shabuah, it's the bull, the lamb, and the goat. So God tells the story. He reinforces it every possible way. So let's take a little more time here and get into Numbers 5. It's a beautiful story. It's the basis of this. It's the story of the whore needing a bath.
Yeah.
And the
She's
whore,
dirty.
as we've talked, this whore, this chapter is known to most as the adulterous woman. It's men and women, boys and girls, young and old. And adultery in the Torah has nothing to do with polygamous
Sex.
relationships.
It's nothing to do with sex.
Nothing to do with sex.
It has to do with effing yourself by being religious.
It is about being.
Sorry,
It is.
but that's pretty much what it comes down to, huh?
Yeah, what she
This
said.
is facts.
It is about being religious. What Leah said. Okay. So.
Composure.
Yeah,
It's the spirit of composure somewhere.
It is somewhere in there. It's it's a Yahowah is extremely graphic, very graphic.
Yep.
He uses terms that where he says those who pray to him who have not listened to his voice in the Torah have dung on their faces.
That's modern
Pretty-
parlance. That's
pretty
acid.
He when the children of Israel turned down his gift and said, we don't want to go in the land. We don't like your gift.
Yep.
So we're rejecting it. He said, then what I see you as is piles and piles of corpses. I see nothing but corpses upon corpses. There is no question that Yahowah is very raw
Graphic.
and graphic with his language. And so if you're a Pollyanna and you have to have every word be politically correct, you're just not.
You're not going to like Yahowah.
You're not going to like Yahowah. He is very real in his vivid descriptions of things. I mean, when you call your people a whore
Zona.
and a prostitute,
Yeah.
which he does, that's pretty damn graphic. So Yahowah spoke to Moshe, which means to draw out, to say, provide instruction and direction. This is from Shawa regarding the children of Yisrael. And the children of Yisrael is a marvelous name because it has both a good and a bad side to it.
Depending which way you choose.
Yeah, you can swing either side. It's either it's Yish, Sarah, and El, and it's individuals who either struggle and strive against the Almighty, or those who endure and engage with God. Yeah. Either one of the two is Yisrael. And you can see that right now Rich in his production has been able to bring up, this is actually from the flip book in our on our website, YADAYAH.com now. They're all presented here. I recognize all of those graphics. This is actually from the flip book. And when it comes to translations on this program, on the Yahowah blog, they are all mine. This is my very unique style of
and they are
translation.
copywritten.
They are. It's the style is to put the word that is, and the words that are most important for you to consider in bold. I will then extrapolate beyond the text of the bold and an amplification and within the parenthetical, and I will always provide every Hebrew word that is in the text so that you can look it up and verify its accuracy for yourself. That's something I know you've done a lot of, Kirk. That's something you did for years. Something I think you did too, Kevin, and something you did as well, JB.
All three of us, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the Mother Goddess cult likes to use a quote that you had. It was one that I used to say all the time. I said, "Don't trust me. Go and verify these things for yourself." I've come up with this translating style so that you can see the most generic form of the word, such that you can copy that word into any one of the online study tools that provide dictionaries and lexicons. So I said, verify this for yourself as opposed to trusting me. Well, they just say, don't trust Craig Winn. They leave.
They counterfeit.
JB, who knew him, was part of this show, said, Don't trust Craig Winn. They just leave it right there. Talk about trying to mislead. That was the antithesis of what you were trying to convey. It was that Craig says, I'm giving you the tools to verify this for yourself. Go about doing it because it'll build your confidence.
Yeah. So,
So,
like I said, that was always my thing, and why I even started to begin with was like I was reading these translations and I'm like, okay, either he's onto something or he's making this stuff up, and I need to know which one it is.
Right.
Yeah. At this point, I'd probably check thousands of verses. And
yes. Yeah, and maybe once in and 500 statements, 500 verses, you'd find something. I don't know how we got there.
Yeah,
I'm sure. And we used to communicate all the time, and you would say, can you explain to me how you got there? And sometimes it takes a little explaining because, like, for example, there's a word that is used and translated that in Numbers 15, that the man on the Shabbat was gathering sticks. And what I have shared already was that, no, it wasn't sticks, it was trees. It was etz, which is the Hebrew word for trees. And so it represented something far more important than sticks. And that the second thing was that the term for gathering, if you just look at the lexicon, the word is used about 20 times, maybe less throughout. And there is no verbal root that we can find or anything that you would say, all right, I can refine this based upon anything other than just context. So what I then would do and have done is then I look at, because it is one of these words that is repeated. So the first part of the word and the second part of the word are exactly the same. So take the first 3 letters of the word, which is then repeated as the second 3 letters of the word. And I'll look at every word in the Hebrew lexicon that has those same 3 letters, particularly the ones that have very simple additions after them, like oath, which would mean all things pertaining to, or would make it, the AH would make it feminine, or the Y would make it give it a personalization. And what you find when you do that, in that case, it isn't about gathering something. The words are horrible. It means to rob, to be severe, to be treacherous, to be exceedingly destructive. And so the person is being overwhelmingly treacherous and destructive in with what he's doing to the trees. And so that's an example of you can't just put it into Strong's and say, well, that definition come out, because it wouldn't. But if you went to Strong's and you looked at an online version of it, or a DBL or any one of the others, and you looked at all of the words with those same letters, then you're going to see, that's where he got that.
Yep.
And the propensity is that I love verbal roots. I realize that in Hebrew, there really is no word that isn't defined by its verbal root, its actionable root, common with a lot of ancient languages. And so there is more to it than just that. But then you have to be really, really careful of what are the pronouns, first, second, third person, masculine, singular. What are the moods? What are the stems? What are the conjugations? How is this going to apply within that structure? And it takes a lot of discipline to go through all of that. And then your next challenge is, I need to see this for the lesson that God is teaching us. Because what I have learned and had it reinforced so much here recently is the Torah is only history in the sense of God told us it happened. But there's almost nothing in the Torah that was of benefit to those that originally heard it.
Nope.
The children of the Exodus didn't benefit one iota from it. And so what we find is that
still don't today.
When you translate it correctly and interpret it correctly, the message isn't for them.
It's for us.
It's for us. And it's all prophetic of our situation. And when you can take that Torah, which when I talked to Jews, I said, listen, you were mean to God. You told God to go away, shut up. You never wanted to hear from him or see him again. Your beautiful dollar, Dylan. That when you did that, they say, well, that was a long time ago. Those were different people. And my answer is no.
You're still the same.
The Torah was written for us today because it had no benefit whatsoever to the people then. They all rejected it. So no, it's a story of this is where you are right now. So anyway, that's the you can see how this is presented here, where there is you take a word like Shawah, which is almost always rendered command, but here you can see how much better it is if you render it based upon its etymology, which is instruction and direction that is authorized and appointed. So we will expand that through this process. Regarding the children of Israel, that they voluntarily send out. Now, voluntarily, why would you come up with a voluntarily send out? Because you're not going to read that in any English translation, are you?
No.
But voluntarily comes out from the fact that it was written in the Jusiv. The Jusiv is a third person expression of free will. So God is telling his people, this is one of the reasons, by the way, it's not a command. Because a command, you can't say, I command you to choose. It doesn't work that way. I command you to want to. I demand that you desire. No, but that's what this is. So I want you to want to voluntarily send out. I want you to choose to remove. And the imperfect conjugation is really important here, because the imperfect conjugation tells us that I don't want you to do this once and done.
No.
I want you to do this
ongoing basis,
as a matter of habit all the time, throughout time, ongoing behavior. From the encampment, from the community, from the place where you are dwelling, everyone who is infectious, whether they are mentally disoriented, chronically or confused, are plagued by a pandemic disease or leprous. So mental disorders, physical disorders, internal disorders. If the person is sick, don't allow them to stay in the community. And this would also be a mental illness, because a mental illness can be extremely destructive to a community.
Absolutely.
Boy, I spend a lot of time on X, and I want to tell you that a lot of mental illness.
Yeah.
There is a lot of mental illness out there.
Terrible on X, and a lot of people are plagued by the stupid virus.
Oh yeah.
So
somebody beat a lot of people with a stupid stick.
And God says these people are harmful to you. You have to separate them. It doesn't say kill them. It doesn't say beat them up.
Get them out of here.
It's just not Allah. You need to kill them. You need to beat them up. It just says separate yourself from them. This is your community where I'm in your midst. Send them out of the community, or I'm not going to be in your midst. And you will be corrupted to the point that you're among those who need to be sent out.
There you go.
And he likes to use disease to speak of what religion does to people, because it is sent and dispatched by contact and virally, by words, by contact with people. It is a virus in this regard. In addition to everyone with oozing sores, discharging copious amounts of pus, including those with various diseases and that are covered in boils. Even it says venereal disease would be one of the applications of Zub. A sexually transmitted disease would be a sign of religion's infidelity, where you're having contact with the people with lots of different gods. And this focus on external appearances of diseased skin is God is saying you should be able to see the signs of this. When somebody is plagued with one of these diseases that it's infectious and it'll spread in this community, you need to be able to see it. You should be able to see it. as well as everyone whose soul is contaminated, polluted, defiled with religious idolatry, tame. It's the physical body is one thing. And so he went through the mind. So this is really ingenious. He says, you've got to be careful about what people are thinking, mental illness. Then he went through the physical body with the oozing sores and this sort of thing. And he ends with your soul being plagued with religious idolatry. So the soul is that essence of us that can go on beyond where we are now. And so he has all three: our mind, our body, our soul. And doesn't matter which one of those is infected, get that person out of the community. But pretty insightful to pick words that would apply to all three of those levels, including both male and female, men and women, boys and girls, as a memorable and restoring witness. And of course, this is one of those words where you can look at it, and my wife has been hounding me to go back and redo that. This is Nakaba here, and it is a much rougher term than this. It speaks of being cursed. It speaks of being of pilfering, of boring a hole in something, of being exceedingly destructive. And so if you look up all of the related words to it, this is a really bad thing. And so
it's a very bad thing.
The nakar here, well, a nakar is to remember, and it just means man or to remember. And so it can be, if you put those two things together, be a memorable man. There are memorable men both on the good side and bad side, far more on the bad side. So Paul, for example, is infamous. Hadrian, infamous. Muhammad, infamous. In today's world, Donald Trump. He's a real scallywag and scumbag, but people know him.
They know him.
So he is a memorable man. And so this memorable man, in this case, is corrupt. He's memorable because of the bad things that he's done. And the Nakaba is a female who has destroyed something, perforated something, bore a hole in something that was very valuable to God. So this is a place where now, knowing this, I would have spent more time on that word and would have expanded it to in an amplified translation. And you should consistently send them away to outside the encampment, putting them apart from where the community is living. Isolate, quarantine. It's what
get them the hell out of here.
When I first wrote about Islam, and even back in the the Tea with Terrorists days, right after I had met with Al Qaeda and Hamas and Alaska Martyrs Brigade, as well as with Hamas, Al Qaeda, Hezbollah, and Alaska Martyrs Brigade. Those were the four. Once I had met with them, my conclusion was the only way to confront Islam and this disease of Islam is to quarantine it. We had to stop enriching them by buying their oil, stop selling them weapons, stop invading their lands, and to quarantine it. And if you didn't quarantine it, millions and then hundreds of millions of people were going to die, and ultimately perhaps even billions of people would die.
You've said it for 2 decades.
So the Christian, the Islamic religion, for our planet to survive, it has to be quarantined. That's what God is saying here. Religion has to be quarantined. If Israel is to survive, Judaism has to be quarantined.
Absolutely.
So you should consistently send them away outside the encampment from where the community is living, so they do not contaminate, corrupt, or infect their community, in which, for the benefit of the relationship and to show the correct path to get the most out of life, which is from Asher, I dwell. I myself reside in their midst. So God is saying, I'm living with you, and while I'm living with you, this is something you must do. And if you don't do this, I can't live with you.
He's telling you to take out the trash.
Exactly. And therefore, the children of Israel did so. Well, this is Numbers 5. Wait till we get to Numbers 11, 12, 13, 14, 15,
Yeah, I know.
and 20. Anyway, this is Numbers 5. And they did so and sent them out such that they were set apart in a public place outside the encampment of the community. So they weren't abused. They
No.
weren't in any way
Harmed.
They were just quarantined. They were separated.
They were told to get out.
Yeah, they were separated. Consistent with the beneficial manner Yahweh had spoken to Moshe, the family engaging and enduring with God did what was right. At that point, they separated from the religious and from the diseased. So Yahweh spoke to Moshe to say, declare this to the children of Israel, branded with a stigma, as a sign of being possessed and controlled by another, is a man or a woman who chooses to continually act upon or habitually engage in any part of that which is offensive and wrong, with ensuing guilt for missing the way and leading others astray. Now, here, and the advantage is now we can actually see it up here on the screen, which is a real advantage because you can read along, and you can also, in this case, we're in towards the very end of this book, Katsir Harvest. We're page like 690 in that realm, and books are free in their entirety online, YAHOWAH.com, and you can follow along when we're going through this. So it is Yahweh speaking to the one who draws out, and he wanted this known to the children of Israel because, as JB, as you said, the children of Israel are the control group. We get to judge what works and what doesn't work from the way they respond to God. And then he uses a word that is the primary meaning, actually, of the KY is to be branded. I'm sure you guys have looked it up. It's the first definition is actually to be branded as a sign, and it's a sign of being controlled by others. So you don't always get to use its primary definition, but when you can, you should. And so that's what I have done here. And Ish and Isha are male and female.
That's right.
Who chooses to act upon and engage in. Asha can be translated just with the simple word do.
Yeah.
95% of the time, I translate it as act upon or engage in. And the reason is that it is so much more revealing that way. You think about, how do I act upon this message? How do I engage based upon what I'm learning here? I think it's a much more instructive way to look at the word. And if you can find a definition of a word that's used a lot, like Asha, that is more expressive, and you can consistently use it, just like Asher, where it reveals the benefits of the relationship, the path to take to get the most enjoyment out of life. When you find that 95% of the time that the word appears, you can give it an expressive definition that carries all of the insights associated with the word. I think that's the benefit of an amplified translation, particularly if you find a definition that consistently works. So that's why I think it is so much more instructive to say act upon and engage in than simply do. Do is just too simplistic. And so any part of that which is offensive or wrong, with ensuing guilt for those missing the way and leading others astray. Now, there's two ways to create amplification and to teach via a rendering of Yahweh's testimony. One is to pick one of those words and then be done with it. The other is to put most of the definition within the parenthetical, misleading by denying and forfeiting the relationship while incurring condemnation. Chata and chata'a, which would be the feminine form of the word, when you go down to the verbal root, it speaks of being led astray and leading others astray. And the guilt that is incurred is not from being led astray, but from leading others astray.
Yes.
And so it is an offense to God. And so as you study the word, the full definition is exactly as I've shared. It is guilt that is incurred for misleading regarding the relationship. So chata'a is actually a religious term because there is only one institution that misleads people regarding the relationship God intended. Politics doesn't do that. This is not, chata'a is not an individual crime. It's not like, I stole a piece of gum from the store.
No, it's a collective.
It's not that
ongoing.
I told a lie. It is not an individual sin. It is a collective behavior that is religious in nature when people are being led astray. And it's very difficult for an individual, unless they are exceedingly prominent, to lead others astray.
True.
So this is a prominent act within the community by the community leaders and its culture and its religion to lead people away from God, which is why you incur guilt from doing so. Bob Midbar in the Wilderness, Numbers 5:6. So Yahweh was speaking to us through the children of Yisrael. And because they didn't, even though it says, they did what was right, the fact is they did it for about 15
Not
minutes.
long.
Yeah, about 15
A
minutes.
whole 5 minutes.
So much of this is geared to us. So the Israelite problem became so bad that they strayed so far from Yahweh that they have actually forgotten his name and they're aggravated by his name. You guys follow me on X, and you know that there isn't a single pro-Israeli account, not one.
No, there isn't.
Where I share with them the importance of using Yahweh's name as the only solution to Israel's security and salvation of God's people. And I have had 0 of them respond. Not one.
Welcome to the family, buddy. We got problems.
20,000 tweets
I know.
in what, 8 months?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay, I've been doing this
Yeah.
years. They've been ignoring me for years, decades, even.
Since late December, I have posted 21,000
posts.
messages on X. So it certainly isn't for a lack of effort.
No, I think that most of the people on X are strictly navel gazers. Jews want to push out some kind of message and they're becoming some kind of political influencer. It's not helping. It's not.
It's an echo chamber.
It
It
is.
is. And it is an absolute echo chamber. That's the nature of Israel, is they tell each other what they want to hear. And my voice is very shrill, because I will say, Israel, you're constantly showing pictures of the destruction of Gaza.
Yes, it's horrible.
And pretending like this is a good thing. And I want you to know that because you lost the war of public opinion and you actually forfeited it and you have destroyed Gaza, now you have put yourself in an impossible position. You have pursued war goals that cannot be achieved. And this is important for us to communicate why Israel is in such a terrible spot today, because just as God has conveyed here, they're misled.
Highly.
Netanyahu's war goals was to remove Hamas from Gaza. Before he even pronounced that, I predicted he would try to do so. And I actually foretold that Israel would attempt to remove Hamas from Gaza, which would backfire on them because it's impossible. And we see that now all the time. You see the food trucks going in and they're
horrible.
like ants from Hamas.
Exactly as
them.
you said.
And so they've been at war for 22 months, have essentially destroyed Gaza, turned the world against them, and yet there's no indication that there's any fewer Islamic jihadists in Gaza now than there were when they started.
No, of course not. It's a hydra. Every time you cut off one head, 3 other pop up in another place.
You cannot win a war
With
against a
bombs.
religious enemy with bullets and bombs, and you can't ever kill Islam to its demise, because that is what they want you to do. They wanted to bludgeon Israel to the point that Israel would destroy Gaza, because they knew that if Israel destroyed Gaza, they would get the Palestinian state. And they don't want a Palestinian state. They want to destroy Israel, but Israel becomes indefensible once there is an Islamic state carved out of its heart. So they're done this, and Israel has played right into their hands. So you say, Israel, you have pursuing war goals that are impossible, and now Netanyahu is doubling down on them. He's going to take over and occupy the Gaza Strip and Gaza City. And it's insane. It's
going to
literally
be a meat grinder.
insane when you continue to do the same thing and you expect different results. But I can't get a single prominent Israeli account to convey that same message. No. And then I'll go as far as to tell them, in addition to that, can you imagine a more inappropriate strategy than being left such that you're required to feed those who are committed to killing you?
Yeah.
Where you have to wear flak jackets and be behind barbed wire to feed people. And the very people that are trying to kill you, you must wear a flak jacket. You have to give them their
daily meal
to feed. And you're being condemned by the world for not feeding them enough. And they're the very people who have and will continue to kill you. And you put yourself in that position that you're required to do so while the world is condemning you for doing so. And you're feeding the very people that are committed to killing you. And that was your strategy. And you can't see how that strategy was stupid. And it's not like I'm going at this and saying I don't have an alternative. I gave them a 5-point plan that would work. But you can't break through.
It would have worked on day 2.
You cannot break through the Israeli mindset.
No.
It just can't be done.
They know it all.
God couldn't do it.
They know it all.
God couldn't do it.
I know. That's right.
You know, God's a whole lot smarter and more resourceful than we are, fellas. Mm-hmm. Although I don't know if he could put a movie on the television in my living room and make it look like you're sitting in my living room. That's pretty inventive. But
you drinking your booze too?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Wow. So if God couldn't get them to listen to him, it tells you how difficult that job is for us, and we ought not get frustrated when it doesn't happen as readily as we'd like it to. Ultimately, they're going to be given no choice. They're going to be up against the wall. And so this is all why God equipped a Nakar, an observant foreigner, as the man from Edom, to serve as his cold voice to awaken Israel before they all missed the Shabbat and Towrah harvest, as well as the conflagration of the Adamah Parah, all leading to the Kippurim homecoming.
Israel, you wanted a bull, now you got one.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
yes, you do.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
So, being wrong and missing the way, especially leading others astray, has become Israel's stigma.
Yes.
It might as well be their national anthem.
And their mental illness.
Well, I tell you what, if you read Israel's national anthem,
I know.
It is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Israel too, and everyone that is associated with Israel wants to show the six-pointed star, which they call a Star of David. And you realize David didn't have a star.
No.
David is not associated in any way, shape, or form with a star. The first use of the star to be attributable to the Jewish ethnicity and to Judaism was in the 14th century. It took place in Prague, not in Israel. It was during the diaspora, and it was immediately used as a sign to harass Jews and to subjugate them. And so, here you are with something that is been used to demean you, to subjugate you, to destroy you, to exterminate you, and you choose that image to identify with.
Crazy.
I mean, why didn't they just pick the swastika?
Well,
what really is the difference?
He also is pretty clear about nothing that fishes in the sea, nothing that flies in the sky. Don't do the cough, the stars in the sky. You're not supposed to worship those anything. You're not using them as symbols.
Correct. It's hard to imagine that they could get that wrong, and that they would choose it and not what we have over my shoulder here. God has a sign. It's a menorah.
Uh-huh.
And that lights our way. It speaks of it speaks of the 7 Moed Mikra. It speaks of the 7 colors in the rainbow, which is the sign of the covenant. That is God's symbol. It is the light comes from olive oil, the symbol of the longest lived trees, the deepest rooted trees, the most substantial and oldest trees in the promised land. The light being symbolic of enlightenment and the spirit of healing, of being nurturing. It is an exceedingly important symbol. And yet here we are. We're getting a strobe effect on Leah here. So we'll.
Thank you.
There we go. Oh, now Leah's in the dark.
There we go.
There we go. Leah keeps on turning the light away, and yet she, no light, no Leah. And that's the symbol you should have used. That's Yahweh's symbol.
Yes, but we lifted up the star of our Malak, our king, Bar Kokhba.
So they're using instead the star of Bar Kokhba, the son of a star, the false Messiah
that's who you worship.
That created Judaism. And it's just so revolting to see them identify with this damn star and not with the menorah.
But it's like you said, the rabbis have dictated our culture for centuries.
I wouldn't mind if they chose the lion, and some do, but even the lion has stars of David on it. And they're not stars of David, but 6-pointed stars. But the lion only represents one tribe. Menorah represents all 12 tribes. And more importantly, the God who makes the people important and the nation important. So it is stunningly irritating to God to not use that symbol. When we began, when I came up with, we're looking for a symbol for Yada Yahowah, we chose the lion head. And for our purpose, it was actually quite ahead of our time, because the lion is Dod. Dod is the lion of Judah. Yeah. And so it is the symbol of Dod, and we are here to represent Dod, and it's a very fine symbol from that.
And you are Dod's herald.
Yeah, so it turned out to be a very fine symbol from that point of view. But the fact is that when God said, I want you to rebrand for reasons that happen to be a fractured family, as he says, I want you to differentiate from anything that was associated with them. And I want you to go to my principal brand. My brand is the menorah. And the reason we didn't use the menorah previously is that all the depictions of menorah
are
religious, and it's corrupted to 9 branches, and it's dated. And our message is contemporary. We're trying to enlighten a modern world. And so when God told me, I want you to switch to the menorah, I said, okay, then can I do a modern one? A clean modern interpretation? Absolutely. That is the message. So that is how that menorah that you see turning there came into being. That was the image that was immediately in my mind, geometric, clean, modern, with the colors of Roy G. Biv on it, which are the colors of the symbol of the covenant and the rainbow, and with Towrah, Shabbat being that middle candle and it being the tallest of them, because that is our focus, is maximizing that particular
big deal.
But I cannot succeed in educating Israel that star has nothing to do with God, has nothing to do with David, has nothing to do with anything that is important to you. It has nothing to do with the Torah, and is in fact an artifact of the false Messiah that Rabbi Akiba used to cause the diaspora.
That's right.
And it was such a symbol of shame for Israel, particularly during the Holocaust, that there really was no difference between that star and the swastika.
I'll tell you what I think. I think that star is one of the most satanic symbols to ever grace a religion.
It's a hexagram. Where do you think the word hex comes from?
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad how Israel is unwilling to listen, and they're branded with all of this. From God's perspective, Israel remains adulterous. Israel is a whore. Israel is offensive. Now, somebody might say, "Well, boy, you're being pretty mean there. You sound like you're anti-Semitic." No, I am the most pro-Semitic person on the planet, because Shem means name, and we go right to it, and it's Yahowah. And literally, I'm sacrificing my life, my body anyway, for the children of Israel. And I've devoted 100,000 hours for free, and I get flack from Israelis to save them from themselves. You can't be more pro-Israel than I am, or pro-Torah than I am, or pro-prophets than I am, or pro-Dod, who's the king of Israel, than I am. But to be pro-Israel, you have to convey the message that God wants Israel to hear. And if you think I'm being offensive, boy, you take a load of what Yahweh says.
Yeah, what it's like to love a whore.
Yeah, that's what Yahweh says. Israel is a religious whore, and that's the purpose of Numbers 5. Is we need to purge this religious whore.
Saying
in
you're
time,
it can be like saying you hate someone because you're trying to convince them not to walk off a cliff.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Don't be stupid. Don't follow all those other idiots off the cliff, or don't trust your life on that bridge. It's faulty. I've seen how it's made. I know it's fake. I know it's faulty. Don't do it. That's what Moshe told the children of Israel after they besmirched Yahweh and said, "We don't want the gift of the promised land. We don't want to go there. We think that it's just a death trap. So no, we don't want to go there." And then when Yahweh said, "Okay, then you're going to wander around here in the wilderness, and oh, by the way, you're all going to die." And I think you're religious whores. The first thing they did, they got up early the next morning, ran up the hill to go into the promised land. And Moshe just said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. God's not with you. And if God's not with you, you're going to get yourself killed. They all got slaughtered. Ran up the hill anyway. And their first thing out of their mouths is, "Behold us."
If that doesn't describe every navel-gazing Jew I know.
That's exactly what they said. Hena akanu. Behold us. Look at us here. Yep, I did. They got slaughtered. And that's really what's going to happen to Israel over this next 8 years. They're going to get slaughtered. because they lost the war of public opinion, because they don't understand why anti-Semitism is so profound. There's talk about how they're so accommodating to Christians, and that they want to publish every time a Christian says, but Jesus was Jewish, so I have to support Jews. Christianity grew out of Judaism. No, the Christian New Testament demonizes and dehumanizes Jews for killing the mythical God. And the whole reason the world is so anti-Semitic today is because of Christianity.
Yeah.
That's the reason. So you can't accommodate these things.
Religion is the only thing that makes people able to have such extreme cognitive dissonance.
Yes, where they can claim that they're being noble, appropriate, ethical,
altruistic
to hate Jews.
Yeah.
And that's what the nature of Marxism is in Christianity and Islam. They think it is a superior position to want Jews dead. And then, unfortunately, because Israel has done so many things improperly over these last few years, there's going to be very little of Israel left by the time that Yahweh returns. 2 out of every 3 Jews are going to die. And this is the message you need to hear. And even if you don't hear it, and you're one of those last 1/3, and you're part of this mortal remnant, then you better heed what's being offered to you at that moment, because the day after Towrah, if you're not there to capitalize on this, it's
going to be bad.
It's over. There is no tomorrow for those individuals. Well, we have gone fully 2 hours. At least I have been in this seat since the freezer debacle.
Yes,
I know we had a little bit of a rough start. And I know we didn't get too much more into Numbers 5 than we did in the previous show, but we did in this program what we did in the last one, which we had that differentiates this program really from the others. We had a lovely family discussion on a variety of issues that are very poorly understood. And I think the one that is the most important is, how do you come to appreciate what Dod did in fulfilling Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim? What does it mean for us? How did he do so? Why did he do so? And how does that offer the benefits of the covenant? And that whole process of thinking that through is priceless.
And don't stop there. Think through the rest.
Well,
the other Moed Mikra who are filled by another man. There are 2 sons standing up in the standing place where Yahweh put his name.
It is all about a lamb, a bull, and a goat.
That's right.
And the symbolism of those things, and the symbolism of the grain, of the olive oil, and the wine, and what they represent as well. And it is through the Moed Mikra, as God laid them out, as they were intended, and the conditions of the covenant, as God explained them to Abraham, that we put ourselves in a position where we can capitalize on what he is offering, and we can be among the few. When it came to entering the promised land, there were 600,000 Israelites that left Mitzrayim. The experience with the spies was very early on. And we are told that of the men and women who were over the age of 20, only 2 made it in. So let's assume that there were 400,000 adults over the age of 20.
Yeah.
So 1 in 200,000. And that's with God presence being there. That's with Moshe leading them, and Yahweh's presence being there. It was 1 in 200,000.
Signs and wonders, cloud during the day. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
you guys are all for me, sitting in this chair, Jewish culture, knowing what I know, I'm like, I'm not surprised. Not at all. Not in the least am I surprised.
Clearly, what that says is that you'll notice that God did not negotiate with them.
No.
He didn't say, I want to give you a second chance.
No.
He didn't try to accommodate them. He didn't say, let's talk this through and see if we can reach some common ground. He didn't try to save them. It's just that fine. Two men stood up. One guy spoke up.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say a lot, but one guy stood up, or two guys stood up. One guy spoke up. And by the way, Moshe was not among them. And so they were the two among 400,000. So you know that God's not trying to save everybody. He's not trying to be accommodating. He's not trying to negotiate with us. He's not trying to find common ground.
God does not love you if you don't know him.
He does not want a huge crowd in heaven. He wants a family.
Mm-hmm.
And last time I checked, 1 million people are not a family.
Oh, no.
There's going to be thousands and very unlikely hundreds of thousands, and certainly not millions. And so it's going to be a very.
I'm an introvert.
Field.
I like it small. I'm good with that. Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm happy with it too. You know,
I prefer quality over quantity any day.
We are told in Numbers 5 that this goy is going to bring a multitude. But I think that multitude is not so much the Shabbat or Towrah transformation into the covenant.
No.
I think it's
the
God's
remnant.
doing where he uses the chariot to bring a multitude of Goyim and also of Yehudim and Israelites into Israel that benefit from the sacrifice of the red heifer. But that red heifer sacrifice, while it is magnificent for those people and it gets them into the celebration of Sukkah, that's just the start of the process for them.
Mm-hmm.
Understand.
They will be spiritual babies.
They are absolute spiritual babies, which is why God was clear and said it's only those under 20 years old that are going to have this opportunity, which he therefore is making the age of determination 20. And he's saying, you know, under 20 years old, you just don't have the wherewithal to exercise good judgment. So I'm going to make an exception for you. But if you're over 20, you do have the wherewithal to exercise good judgment. You're done. So it's quite important to understand that God did not make an accommodation. He did not negotiate. He did not try to salvage them, save them, protect them, work out anything.
He walked away.
He was far. No, he didn't actually walk away.
No, he went back to Shabat.
What he did is said, "You're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead. You're whores. I'm disgusted by you, and I am now going to focus my attention on the under 20s. And this is the message I want you to communicate to them." And that message was, we're going to resolve this problem with a lamb, with a bull,
and a goat.
And here we are.
Yeah, I know a guy.
Yeah, I got a guy. I got a couple of guys. Actually.
Yada, yada, yada.
I got 3 guys. So thank you everyone for listening. I'm sorry we had the rough start with freezer issues, but we've got it all resolved now. At least I think we do. And we'll have instructions on proper freezer etiquette going forward. Yeah.
I'm telling you, the ice just solidifies into one big brick. It's too heavy.
Well, you know, it's maybe a coincidence, but you know, Kevin is in your house.
Yeah,
I know,
Kevin,
right?
I should have.
Kevin over to fix it.
Dispatched Kevin to fix from where you're
I
sitting.
think they're
Kevin,
going to blame me. Okay,
that freezer
You're
was
like minutes
only
away.
a matter of 20 feet from where you're sitting.
Yeah.
You could have fixed it, but it's it's nice to know that you have skills beyond the ability to translate, and you can do manly man stuff when it comes down
I
to
love
it.
a man that can
And
work
you
with his
can, you
hands.
can still fix a freezer. And so life happens. And
And then it goes on.
and you see, we started the show where I was dealing with life, and you come back in and you explain that you were dealing with life. And it is this ability to deal with life and to learn from life and to celebrate life that makes us usable and interesting to God. If
You and
God
Asher
didn't want
agrees.
somebody that's involved in the midst of life and pragmatic at solving problems, then none of this would exist. You wouldn't have Moshe, you wouldn't have Dode, you wouldn't have me, you wouldn't have
Any of
Abraham, you wouldn't have anybody.
No.
Be no purpose to any of it. So this is the mindset and attitude that God likes to see. Okay, there's a new obstacle. Solve it.
Now we have another. Our pups need to go pee pee. Say good
Okay.
night.
Yeah.
Back to life. We're gonna go deal
Yeah.
with
Deal
the
with our
guys.
pups.
This is
Asher's been complaining for the last 15
now
minutes.
Asher is wrapping her head around the
Oh,
all of the cables we have here. So
no. Okay, why don't you sign us out
that's
of
about
here?
to be a disaster. So
Okay.
good night, everyone.
night.
Shabbat shalom.
Wookie says
Shabbat.
good night. Asher says good night. Shabbat shalom. to all.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom, y'all. Night, everybody.
Night.